Alright everyone, it's time we fully talk about helluvaboss Season 2 and the many problems with this. When I watched Sarcastic's Core's video about why he's no longer making helluvaboss videos, it opened my eyes in a way. Because with some of the videos I made on the episodes, I was still in the initial hype. I didn't sit and really think about these episodes. And this is the reason why I also want to make a video about Hazbin Hotel fully, because my first video on Hazbin Hotel absolutely sucked. It was terrible. So now that Season 2 is finished and I've done a lot of thinking and rewatching episodes of Season 2, I have new opinions and opinions that have changed. I've tried to type the script as clearly as possible so this isn't a jumble mess. So everyone, let's get started. Okay, so this is the first thing I wish to talk about regarding the show, and it's a steady decline. The plot isn't good, at least for Season 2. The plot of Season 1 was fairly simple. You have a team of demons that have their own business of killing people that are still in the living world, requested by demons that hire them. And that was great. It was simple, it was fun, it was a pretty unique plot. I genuinely enjoyed Season 1 along with the pilot, so when I finished the Ozzy episode and had to wait till Season 2 came out, I was genuinely super excited. However, at this point, Stolas is the second main character aside Blitz, and everyone else is just side characters. And I understand why there are fans that feel lied to. I feel lied to as well. Honestly, if you really compared Season 1 and Season 2 with its episodes, it almost doesn't feel like the same show sometimes. And I think that's what makes helluvaboss Shorts episodes more enjoyable, because they at least stay more consistent with the original plot. Now, I'm not going to say that there isn't episodes I at least enjoyed in Season 2. Now, I'm not going to say I like every episode of helluvaboss Season 1. However, Season 2's pacing, it just didn't feel right. After Season 1, we ended with Stolas crying on the steps of his castle after a falling out with Blitz. But then Episode 1, Season 2, called The Circus, came out. It felt like such a nothing episode, like filler, because what does making Blitz and Stolas childhood friends add to their relationship? Literally nothing, because 1, they never see each other again, and 2, they literally have yet to mention that they were childhood friends ever again. And then there was Episode 2, Seeing Stars, which I'm sorry, this is by far the worst episode of Season 2 in my opinion. When I first watched this, I thought it was filler as well. This episode is not too long after the Ozzy mishap, and not once did they acknowledge what happened. Not even Millie or Moxie mention it with Blitz, since Moxie told Blitz he didn't want them there at Ozzy's because he could have ruined their anniversary. And Blitz did indeed embarrass them at Ozzy's in front of a bunch of demons. So why didn't Moxie say anything about this? But you know how we get this acknowledgement regarding Season 1 and how it ended? Episode 4, Western Energy. And how do we get this acknowledgement? From text messages. And that is only if you pause the episode and try to read them for yourself. If you never noticed the text messages Stolas and Blitz had, you would literally never notice. And that's my problem. And a problem that is going to keep showing up as I talk about the series is tell, don't show. It's an awful pacing where things either feel too slow or way too fast. Things happen in the dumbest of ways out of sheer convenience or humor. Episodes like Western Energy or Unhappy Campers are extremely disappointing. They feel like such huge letdowns. With Western Energy, the whole subplot of Blitz taking Luna to the vet shouldn't have even been in the episode to begin with. It's very much tonal whiplash from something that's serious to something that's supposed to be humorous. Same thing with Unhappy Campers, which wasn't that good either. The main plot of the episode was Millie and Moxie at camp trying to find out who murdered the client to find them and then kill them. But the subplot is also Blitz looking for his twin sister, Barbie Wire, who was a character people were excited to see. Instead, out of the whole 21 minutes of the episode, she's only in it for 4 minutes. But the plot is just one part I don't like about the show, because I have a lot of characters to go through. Now, before I stomp on Stolas even more, no, Blitz is not innocent. I will be talking about him as well. But Stolas, even with the Mastermind episode and Sismus, him losing his royal status, his home, and his daughter, he still doesn't understand his wrongdoings, okay? Okay, so, Stolas still sucks. Oh, come on! I don't have as much to say about Stolas this time because I already made a whole video about how much I genuinely don't like Stolas. But after the Mastermind and Sismus episode, if anything, I think I hate him even more now. So when I made that video, those 2 episodes were not out. But now that they are, I'm still not satisfied. So let me start with the Mastermind episode, which in all honesty, I still kind of like that episode in the aspects I can at least find entertaining enough. But one of my issues is the fact that Andrelphus framed Blitz to make it look like Blitz hired Striker to kill him. Blitz made the point that he could have killed Stolas if he wanted to, which technically, good point, he literally runs a business killing people. What would have made a lot more sense was to put both him and Stolas on trial, because Stella told Andrelphus earlier in an episode that Stolas was actively breaking demon royal laws with an imp. That's pretty huge. But instead, Andrelphus' whole plan relied on Stolas finding out on TV, running to go save him, and have this dramatic and honestly not that good of a song where he admits he's the mastermind of this whole thing. Even in the song he says, "I would rather die than live my life without you by my side." Andrelphus' whole plan wasn't smart. It was literally sheer dumb luck. Also, Stolas, I think you're forgetting someone. Your daughter. And that's something that really shows how much he puts a guy he barely knows over his own daughter he had for 17 years. And there's honestly something disturbing about this, putting a random man above your own kid. During this entire song, not once does he ever ask about Octavia. His only concern was saving Blitz. And it wasn't until he learned he would not be killed and instead for the next 100 years he will be a normal citizen like everyone else, does he ask, "What about my daughter?" Like, I'm sorry, but scenes like this really shows how much Octavia is nothing but a second thought to Stolas. Not once does he realize that if he had been executed, he would have lost his daughter, regardless. But I guess now that he has to live, he has to deal with the consequences of his actions. Oh, in the Sismus episode, it just makes it even worse. Now, in this episode, Stolas doesn't get to talk to Octavia because Stella actively keeps her from doing so, and gloating about it, which is completely messed up. In the episode close to the end, he and Octavia finally see each other again. He tries to apologize to her for the 3rd time, but Octavia rightfully puts her foot down and cuts him off, not wanting to continue the cycle of Stolas screwing up and then begging for forgiveness from her. Don't worry, I have a whole segment for Octavia. Closer to the end of the Sismus episode, Stolas says to Blitz, "She hates me," which is crazy. No, Stolas, you hurt her. You broke your promise. You promised that you would never leave her behind for him, and you technically did. And you said you had to. No, if you wanted to defend Blitz, fine. You love him. I use that word very loosely, but saying and willing to give your life for him is completely insane. And of course, this was broadcasted live on TV. He knew this because that's how he found out about the trial in the first place. Just like my previous video specifically talking about Stolas, Stolas doesn't know how to take any accountability. It's like he honestly can't understand why Octavia is so angry and hurt with him. It's always his boo-boo crybaby feelings. And what honestly disappoints me when it comes to Stolas, he could have been a genuinely good villain. Back in the pilot episode made 5 years ago, Stolas wasn't in the pilot much, but he had a more devious side to him. Yeah, he was still a horn dog, but he seemed more serious. He called Blitz wanting to kill a political candidate on Earth who was trying to tell people that global warming exists, which of course it does, but Stolas wants more people to die. Since it gets lonely, you see he seems more devious. How did he go from this to this sad, pathetic joke? Like, when I look back at pilot Stolas, it makes the Stolas we have now feel so awful and not in a villainous way. We got is portrayed as this good guy and the victim, but his actions are very manipulative. He treats demons below him as lowlives. He constantly looks down on Blitz despite saying that he doesn't, even though clearly we've seen him call him pet names over and over and over again despite Blitz clearly being uncomfortable. He refuses to listen to others, and that's what makes him a poorly written character, because when he faces consequences for his actions, I can't help but point and laugh because he has done nothing but act like the victim in this pity party. He acts like he does nothing wrong and doesn't see his own flaws. With his manipulative behavior, he's honestly a better written villain than Stella. Speaking of Stella, let's talk about her and her brother Andrelphus. Okay, I have a major problem with these two, but first let's talk about Andrelphus. I find Andrelphus absolutely useless. Like, why is he in the show? What purpose does he have in the show? This is a problem I have with helluvaboss and how female characters are treated in the show. I remember the post VizzyPop saying that Has-Been Hotel has always been a heavier emphasis on women-led stories, so helluvaboss has steered more towards male-led stories. Doesn't mean I don't like my ladies in Helluva, but it's a thing too. But even with that said, there's so much more to come if we get to finish this series. I'm sorry, but Charlie and Vaggie are very boring. Has-Been Hotel suffers the same problem like helluvaboss, except it's worse because the main characters are female, making it more noticeable. Even as main characters, they still feel sidelined in their own show. But back to Andrelphus, I don't like him. Yeah, he has his funny lines sometimes, but honestly, he wasn't necessary at all in the show. He literally isn't mentioned until the circus episode in season 2, and shows up 3 episodes later. And when he's shown, he's literally just sitting there while Stolas and Stella are arguing. But now he's supposed to be this big threat to the audience, and we have to worry about. Also, I can't take him seriously, like at all, because Stolas, who literally has no status or power anymore, beats him to a pulp at first. Like I said in Stolas' segment, he is an idiot. His plan was sheer dumb luck, because Stolas just so happened to be watching TV and switched to channels. What would have happened if Stolas wasn't watching TV and Blitz actually got executed? Then what? This whole trial and him trying to one-up Stolas would have been a complete waste most likely, and Stolas would still be Prince. Andrelphus' plan has so many plot holes and many things that could have gone wrong, and this shows that he isn't very smart because he didn't make this plan foolproof just in case. His whole motivation was to take everything Stolas has. Don't you think he would have put a lot more time and thought into this? Now, about Stella. What I hate is that Stella is basically Andrelphus' sidekick now. At least in season 1, she seemed more intimidating and threatening when you find out that she took the hit out on Stolas. Literally everything Andrelphus does in season 2, Stella could have done it. But no, VizzyPop doesn't like writing complex female characters. And like I said in my Stolas video, I don't need a tragic backstory. But can I have more from her than just hating Stolas? If you don't believe me, watch every episode that has Stella in it. Every piece of dialogue she has is either talking to Stolas or talking about Stolas. I wouldn't even consider Stella a villain anymore. She's just extremely dumb and is so cartoonishly evil, I can't take her seriously every time she's on screen. And I still don't understand why Stella knows nothing about Demon Law or the Grimoire. She literally knew that Blitz was using the Grimoire and thought nothing about it, and then randomly tells Andrelphus, and that's when he kicks off his little plan. It really just feels like Andrelphus exists simply because VizzyPop hates her female characters. So now, on to her daughter Octavia. So remember in my Stolas video where I said he was at least a good dad? Yeah, I take that back, and I'm gonna explain why. So Octavia is by far one of my most favorite characters because how genuinely real she feels, but I also relate to her on a more personal level, having to deal with a family member who acted like Stolas and resulted to me also cutting them off. But that's like a whole nother story. So to see not only the show, but also the fandom itself absolutely treating her like trash because of the Sinsmas episode is very disheartening. So let's actually try to understand why she cut him off in the first place. Stolas 2 times in a row gave his daughter false hope, and with this false hope and promises, when they are broken, she obviously becomes very upset, resulting in Stolas apologizing, they make up, and then the cycle continues. It's like an emotional roller coaster where you keep hoping that they're going to change, but they never do. Whether Stolas is doing this intentionally or not, he is a neglectful parent. It's one thing to have a parent you know won't live up to any expectations, but when you have one that constantly gives you false hope, that can cause a bad hit on your mental health. And we also have to remember that Octavia is a teenager, so this makes it even worse. Really, their relationship can only end in 2 ways. 1, the person actually changes for the better and ends the cycle of giving false promises, or 2, the other person who is given the false promises have enough of this and cuts them off, which would also end the cycle. Stolas tries to tell Octavia that she doesn't understand and that he had to save Blitz. Again, like I said, no he didn't. Stolas is her father. He is the adult, but not once did he take the time to talk to Octavia about their family issues. Why? Because he doesn't care to. He is too infatuated with Blitz. Now, of course, Octavia obviously doesn't have the full story of why her parents don't get along and is making assumptions like with the medication that Stolas takes. And she doesn't ask Stella why she can't talk to her father, which is, of course, valid criticism of her character. We as the show watchers have the full story and why Stolas doesn't love Stella, but unfortunately she doesn't have that, and all she has is her own thoughts and feelings of what's happening. So she at least is still right to an extent. Don't believe me? Well, let's recap the Lululand episode. He takes Octavia there to spend time with her, but hired IMP to be bodyguards. Even though they already have lots of bodyguards, he just wanted an excuse to have Blitz around, and most of the time they were there, he was needlessly flirting with Blitz in front of his own daughter. And then the Seeing Stars episode, Stolas flirts with Blitz. They were goofing off rather than looking for Octavia. Stolas may be skinny, but he isn't weak. Look what he did in the Dorks episode. And without the Grim War, by the way. So him saying without the Grim War his powers are limited, that's complete BS. Literally went full demon just to save his transactional deal. But his own daughter? No, we don't get that same energy at all. And we really get to see a contrast between Stolas and Blitz as parents. In the Western Energy episode, when Blitz finds out Stolas is kidnapped by Stryker, he sends Millie and Moxie to handle it because they are very much capable. He could have went with them, but his daughter Luna very much needed shots at a vet. See how he prioritizes his daughter's needs over a guy? The show and the fandom tries to act like she's entirely in the wrong, which I'm sorry, if you're blaming Octavia for having enough, you're just a Stolas stan. Yep, I said it. It's just sad to watch, honestly. Someone who went through something similar, how much fans will condone and excuse what Stolas does, but the moment Octavia retaliates, it's such a problem. Stolas isn't going to change his behavior unless he wants to, so hopefully, with this consequence of his actions, he'll finally begin to change. Okay, this segment is going to be very short, but it's something I need to get off my chest because my view of Verosika very much changed after remembering a very certain detail. Verosika and her friends literally assault Moxie in the very first episode she's in. Like, I'm sorry, I completely forgot about this, but with this information, I don't feel bad for Verosika in the slightest for how her and Blitz's relationship went down. Obviously, Blitz stealing her car, drove to Rack, maxed out her card on horse lessons was pretty awful, but to SA his employee just to make Blitz upset is like way worse. And oh boy, did she have some nerve in the apology tour episode. The outright audacity of her to tell Blitz to just let Stolas be happy. Meanwhile, she hosts a party just to hate on one guy. How is this helping other demons cope? Also, why is Stolas in the party? Like I said in my apology tour analysis, how did she find out? And secondly, she doesn't know what even happened in their relationship. She just invited him because Stolas dated Blitz, but she doesn't know the context at all. But because of her own biases, she doesn't care to know because Blitz is automatically the bad guy. Like, Verosika is such a hypocrite, and her feelings about Blitz are valid, but for her to tell Blitz to say good for him when they see Stolas kissing another demon, meanwhile she refuses to get over Blitz. And then when I remember the fact that she assaulted Moxie just for the sake of getting under Blitz's skin, it automatically makes me lose sympathy for her. This is a problem Vitsipop has in both helluvaboss and Hazbin Hotel. She makes SA or abuse jokes that are supposed to be funny in a one-off joke, but then in another scene when it happens, it's supposed to be bad. Like, for example, with Angel Dust, whenever he's assaulted by Valentino, it's supposed to be seen as bad. However, when Angel Dust continuously harasses Husk, it's supposed to be funny. Like, it's so inconsistent. I like dark humor, but not with these topics. Alright, so Millie is pregnant and the fandom's reaction is just so insane. People accusing Millie of cheating on Moxie because she was scared? Also, Millie cheating on Moxie? Come on, be serious. Also, let's really think about this. They live in a rundown apartment and they have a pretty dangerous job that barely pays them. I've heard people theorize that they're gonna have Stolas babysit the child because he now has nothing to do. And it's supposed to show, see guys, Stolas is a good father. Look, he's taking care of a child that's not even his. See guys, he's a good dad, we promise. Which, I'm sorry, if they do that, I'm quitting the show. That's gonna be the nail in the coffin for me. But anyways, with the whole pregnancy thing, it really just feels like a way to have her in the show less. And she barely has any character anyways. This is gonna be season 3, and we still don't really know much about her. Yeah, we got a flashback of her before IMP, and it was good, but what about her childhood? Or when she was a teen? We get that with Blitz, Moxie, and a tiny bit of Octavia, and even Fizzaroli. She still barely has any character to her. Like, what are her hobbies? What are her interests aside killing, fighting, and Moxie? There's literally nothing else about her but those 3 things. Like, aside from Stella, Millie is one of the biggest examples of VIZIPOP just hating her female characters. But I'm gonna have more to say about her pregnancy specifically in the next segment. Ah yes, we have made it full circle, because I had some things to say about Blitz, mainly because of Sismus, and that just genuinely didn't make sense to me. And I'm only talking really about Sismus because unlike certain characters, you can actually see him changing and actually having development. So I don't have as much to say, unlike the other characters. Okay, so in Sismus, a Venus flytrap woman hires IMP to kill her husband. So they go to do this job, but Blitz doesn't want to do this because he sees himself, Stolas, Luna, Octavia as the family that they see, being genuinely happy, so he decides he doesn't want to do this because he feels sympathy. But why? Millie rightfully gets mad because, as she says, they've done this before, which they did. The very first episode of helluvaboss, they kill a mom, ruining a family. Moxie is the only one I don't have a problem with not being okay with this, because at least he's being consistent like in the first episode. He was not comfortable back then, but why is Blitz acting like this? Millie's criticism is just chalked up to her being pregnant and emotional, which I find disgusting because she's in the right, but the show won't allow her to be in the right. There has to be some reason to look emotional or irrational to make her seem wrong. Murder Family was the first episode. Blitz had no problem killing Martha, but now he won't. This isn't him having character development and starting to feel sympathetic for people he is hired to kill. So why? Why does Blitz feel such sympathy? Well, this is a gay relationship. VIZIPOP really likes infantilizing and fetishizing gay relationships as if nothing can go wrong with them, which is complete lie. They can be just as toxic as straight relationships. We literally see this with Stolas ex Blitz. And I think the plant woman was purposely written to be a complete jerk, so we don't feel sympathy. Same with Stella. In season 1, you can at least understand why Stella wants him gone while seeing her as a villain because her husband continuously embarrassed her and their family name. But now she's just a childish spoiled brat that no one takes seriously. Blitz here is a complete hypocrite in the scene. For all he knows, this family can just be as bad as a murder family and he wouldn't know. This is a major thing in the show I do not like. Inconsistencies or no nuance in the show. You know, I understand why other YouTubers like Sarcastic Chorus and RTCTB are quitting talking about the show, because it's a lot. It's like being a broken record, saying the same thing for each episode, and none of these problems have been fixed. I was very excited waiting for season 2, back when season 1 was finished, because I thought it was going to be just as good as season 1, but it was extremely disappointing. So now we need to wait for season 3. Do I think season 3 is going to be better and actually fix these problems? No, I do not. So in all honesty, unless something major happens in the show, I think I'm going to be done talking about this for a long while as well. Thank you for watching. You know, it really helps my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments your opinion on Hazbin Hotel and helluvaboss. I would love to read them. And as always, stay amazing, you stars.